The Global Alliance for Public Relations and Communication Management, GA, is the confederation of the world's major PR and communication management associations and institutions, representing over 360,000 practitioners and academics around the world. This month, GA is celebrating diversity, equality, and inclusion, DEI. In honor of this initiative, we're hosting a series of 3 insightful webinars that aim to foster best practices and innovative strategies within the realms of DEI. Join us in celebrating our diversity.
Hi, I'm Justin Green, and I'd like to welcome each and every one of you right around the world in joining us for Diversity, Equality and Inclusion Month, running throughout the month of June. So wherever you are in the world, please join us online free of charge for the many events that will be taking place during the month of June. So hopefully we'll see you then. Take care.
Regards from North America. My name is Gladys Diaz, and as Global Alliance board member, I would like to invite you to celebrate June, Diversity, Equality and Inclusion Month. Take advantage of the educational content and the webinars that we have to offer. Global Alliance is an inclusive institution and we are here for you.
Hi, my name is Stephen Shepson-Smith and I'm a board director of the Global Alliance. I'm here representing Europe and the Chartered Institute of Public Relations. The CIPR is the only PR membership organisation in the world to hold the national equality standard. So equity, diversity and inclusion are incredibly important to us. That's why I'm really excited about June at the Global Alliance, which is Diversity, Equality and Inclusion Month. We've got some brilliant webinars planned for later in the month, so please check out the Global Alliance website, and I hope to join you on some of those webinars and see you on some of those webinars later in the month. Thanks very much.
I am Wale Adamalekun of Elizabeth University, Nigeria. We at the Global Alliance African Regional Council only support the Diversity, Equality and Inclusion program of the Council. The program aims to actually take public relations out there to the public such that nobody is left behind. And so we believe the aims and the objectives of the various programs of Global Alliance, especially the DEI, is worthy of attention, is worthy of your promotion, and we believe that this program is going to go places and indeed make sure that public relations becomes a household name in terms of its utility, in terms of its purpose, and then of course the objectives for which the various programs that have been outlined will serve to humanity and the generality of our publics. Thank you.
Hi friends and colleagues, Jenny Muir coming to you from Sydney, Australia. I'm a Global Alliance board member for the Asia Pacific region. I'd like to invite you to get involved and register with this month's program of work, which is all free for members. It is focused on diversity, equality and inclusion, really important topics for our profession at the moment. Please take a look at the Global Alliance website and register and get involved. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jude William Enilo, the Pro-Vice Chancellor of the University of Liberal Arts, Bangladesh. I'm a Global Alliance Board of Director representing South Asia and the Middle East, and also an Academic and Research Council member. At Global Alliance, we have designated June as Diversity, Equality, and Inclusion Month. There are very interesting webinars lined up for everyone. First, on digital inclusion on June 20. Second, on best practices in diversity, equality, and inclusion on June 25. And third, on public relations and communication professionals, legislative inclusion on June 27. Please attend these webinars and the other activities of Global Alliance.
Hello and welcome to the Diversity, Equality and Inclusion Month for 2024. I am your host, Onishias Maamba from Zambia for today's webinar, the last in the series of the webinars that have been organized by GA. Now, the Global Alliance for Public Relations and Communication Management, GA, is a confederation of the world's major PR and communication management associations and institutions representing over 360,000 practitioners and academics around the world. This month, GA is celebrating Diversity, Equality and Inclusion, DEI. In honor of this initiative, we are hosting a series of 3 insightful webinars that aim to foster best practices and innovative strategies within the realms of DEI. GA brings several benefits to its members, including free training and access webinars such as this one. Thank you for joining us for our last webinar as we conclude the DEI month, focusing on public relations and communication profession through legislation inclusion. Our speakers today for this webinar, we have Sibonelo Jere, who is the Secretary General, Zambia Institute of Public Relations and Communication, ZIPRC. We are also honored to have Carlos Rivera Quites, ARPR board member, Puerto Rico Public Relations Associations. We were also supposed to be joined by Patricia Ndebe, the Vice President, Public Relations Society of Kenya. Unfortunately, due to the volatile situation in her country, she couldn't be able to join this webinar today. Now, let's take a look at what our panel brings. We'll take a look at Sibonelo's biography. Now, Sibonelo Jere is a communication, international relations, and development specialist with over 10 years of experience in the named fields. She serves on the Zambia Institute of Public Relations and Communication, ZIPRC, Secretary, Council as Secretary. Ms. Jere is currently employed as Senior Public Relations Officer and Commonwealth Parliamentary Association Desk Officer at the Zambian Parliament. She also serves as Research Supervisor and Examiner at the University of Lusaka. Ms. Jere holds a master's degree in International Relations from Dublin City University, Ireland, a bachelor's degree in Mass Communication from the University of Zambia, a diploma in Foreign Reporting from the University of Helsinki, Finland, a diploma in Development Journalism from the Indian Institute of Mass Communication, and a diploma in Monitoring and Evaluation from Watershed University, South Africa. Second on the panel, we have Carlos Rivera Quites. Now, Carlos has worked as part of the executive team of 3 of the most important communication agencies in Puerto Rico, Manken Erickson, BBDO, and Sajo/Manken. Principal partner and owner of Partners Communication, a public relations firm serving local clients and within the Caribbean area. Special emphasis on media relation, crisis communication, marketing and communication, and events. He holds a bachelor's degree in business administration from the University of Puerto Rico, Rio Piedras campus. He is accredited through the Universal Accreditation Board since February 2001. He represents Puerto Rico at the Universal Accreditation Committee that grants accreditation to public relations professionals, UABPRSM. He has held various positions at the Association de Relaciones Profesionales de Puerto Rico, ARPR. At the moment, he acts as treasurer. During his tenure as president of the ARPR in 2008, the law that regulates the practice of public relations in Puerto Rico was signed. In 2016, he was recognized as Distinguished Public Relations Practitioner, his fellow colleagues of the ARPR. And finally, he has managed clients such as United Airlines, Copa Airlines, Universal Puerto Rico, Supermedicos, and Econ, McDonald's, Bridgestone or Firestone, Samsung, Coca-Cola, Gillette, FedEx, Mercedes-Benz, Mato, Google, YouTube, and LG Electronics. Now, all citizens have an obligation to obey the law, and in particular, public relations communication practitioners have responsibilities to the various stakeholders to avoid bringing them into disrepute. In some countries, PR and communication practice is now more closely regulated, just like other professions such as law, engineering, and healthcare. This has been key to ensuring that PR and communication professionals adhere to ethical conduct and professionalism in their undertakings. The diversity of speakers on today's webinar will provide insights into their journey to legislation and the benefits being derived or expected to be derived from legislating PR and communication practice. To provide insights into legislation governing PR and communication practice in Puerto Rico and Zambia and the benefit it brings to the PR landscape in both countries, I am joined by Sibonelo Jere, who is going to share the insights of the practice in Zambia. Sibonelo, welcome. Kindly unmute yourself. We're unable to get you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, please.
Thank you for having me on this platform today, and special thanks also go to the Zambia Institute of Public Relations and Communication, which is our professionals body representing community in Zambia. I'm grateful for this opportunity to be able to speak to the world this afternoon. It's afternoon in Zambia. Hello, everybody that is joining us today. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from around the world. I have already been introduced, so I will delve straight into my presentation this afternoon, and I will ask you to help check the presentation for me. So today, as indicated earlier, colleagues, we're looking at communication, public relations and communication profession through legislation inclusion. In other terms, it's basically having public relations and communication legislated by law. I will have the next slide. So to introduce our professional body for PR and communication in Zambia, we are called the Zambia Institute of Public Relations and Communication, ZIPRC. And we are a body that was instituted by law in August 2022 by an act of parliament called the ZIPRC Act of 2022. Now, prior to 2022, we did exist as a professional body, except we were not legislated by law. So we were first registered as a professional body in the year 2008, and we were registered by the Registrar of Societies of Zambia. Now, because we were not achieving some of the goals that we had set out as a professional body, we sought to embark on a journey of being legislated, because we realized that there are certain mandates which we couldn't execute without the backing of the law. And so we embarked on a journey to get legislated around the year 2017. So it was quite a journey that we traveled, because you can see that we began the journey 2017, and the law only got passed in the year 2022. So we will speak later about some of the endeavors that were made to ensure that we were legislated as an institute. Now, let's look at what the law provides for in terms of the mandate of ZIPRC within Zambia. So one of the mandates that the law has given us is to register and to regulate the professional conduct of PR and communication professionals. So in Zambia, by virtue of the ZIPRC Act of 2022, every individual that says they are a PR practitioner is supposed to be registered with ZIPRC. Otherwise, they cannot practice their PR or communication anywhere on Zambian soil. As ZIPRC, the law has also mandated us to promote public relations and communication profession in Zambia. What do we mean by promoting public relations in Zambia? So basically, we as an institute have been given the mandate to promote, to let the public know, to let our various stakeholders know about who we are as a profession and the value that we bring to the Zambian society. Another very important mandate that the law has given us as ZIPRC is to enforce the continuing professional development of our members. So I know I am not the only one. Some of you that are joining us today may know some people that acquired their communication qualifications many years ago, and they do not bother to upgrade. They do not bother to stay abreast with the current trends in the industry and so on. So what the law has done for us in Zambia is that it has given ZIPRC the power to ensure that all of our members are developing professionally and that it is not business as usual in organizations. The law has helped us to ensure that communicators are providing a valuable service to their employers or clients. And later on, I will be able to speak about how we are actually enforcing continuous professional development. I can have the next slide. So now let us look at some of the benefits that the law has given us as ZIPRC. One of the great benefits that we are deriving from the ZIPRC Act is that our members are now more professional and more ethical in their conduct, now more than ever before. Why is that? That is because the ZIPRC Act of 2022, alongside other policies of the Institute, which include the disciplinary codes and the code of ethics, are binding on all of our practitioners. So as long as you're a peer practitioner in Zambia and you're registered with ZIPRC, the ZIPRC Act and all other regulatory policies are binding on such practitioner. And we use such documents to ensure that we bring to order the erring members of the Institute. Now, obviously, you know that in the professional world, we all want to be seen as, having a very good reputation. We want to be seen as being credible. So because of the provisions of the Act and our supporting documents, most of our members do not want to be found to be on the wrong side of the law or the wrong side of our policies, and to basically taint their image in the eyes of fellow practitioners and our stakeholders. So our members have just gone so many notches higher in terms of their professional conduct in their delivery of services. Now, because of the manner in which we are conducting ourselves in terms of being very ethical and professional in our conduct, we have basically inspired this, this trust in our stakeholders. We are being viewed as a trustworthy institute. We are being viewed as credible. And basically, we are very much a respected institute in our country because of the manner in which we are conducting ourselves. Moving on to continuous professional development. One of the great benefits, yet again, of the law of the ZIPRC Act is that we are able to develop continuously as professionals. Now, because of this mandate by the law to ensure that we are developing professionally as practitioners, we as an institute have designed a continuous professional development program, and we have made it a point-based program. So what it is that we are conducting trainings in different parts of the country on a monthly basis. So January to December, we are training our members in various aspects of communication. And for each training that we participate in, we accumulate points. Now, once we have accumulated a certain number of points, we then qualify to be issued a practicing certificate in the coming year. So for example, if a member has not accumulated the required number of points to have their certificate renewed in the next year, then they are not able to obtain a practicing certificate in the following year. So this is how we as an institute are making sure that we are all continuously developing as professionals. And also because of this, point-based continuous professional development program, we have also further enhanced our credibility in the eyes of one of our important stakeholders, which happens to be the government. Because in the public sector, most of our PR professionals are now improving in the manner in which they're delivering services, and the government is in support of our professional development program, such that they are sponsoring practitioners to participate in these continuous professional development training programs. I will have the next slide. So what else have we derived as a benefit from the ZIPRC Act? We have attained enhanced credibility and trust. Now, as a professional body, when you arise and you approach your stakeholders, and in this particular instance, being your government of the day, your line ministry that looks at matters of communication, when you approach your line ministry and make an indication that you desire to be regulated by law, one of the first things that is going to be, discussed or considered is that you are an organized team, you are serious, and that you mean business. You want to add value to society, and that is why you seek to be regulated by law. Otherwise, you could be like any other field that is, practicing as they please without caring much about the standard or the value of the service, or indeed the ethics of the practitioners. So what it is that you inspire confidence in your government and in your stakeholders that you are a serious...
Sibonelo, sorry, I'll have to interject you. Having heard how the public relation landscape is unfolding in Zambia, allow me to also invite Carlos so that we get to hear how it is going out in Puerto Rico. Carlos, good morning and welcome.
And good morning. Good morning, how are you?
Fine, thanks. You have the floor, please.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me here. Welcome and good morning in Puerto Rico. Buenos días. Good afternoon in Europe and the rest of the world. Buenas tardes. Estoy muy contento de estar aquí con ustedes. I'm very happy to be here with you and with all the people that are right now taking this webinar. We're going to talk about the licensing process in Puerto Rico that took us, and I'm talking from the Asociación de Relacionistas de Puerto Rico Public Relations Association, that was founded on May 1970. And from that founding, we began to trying to legislate our licensing. So it took us 38 years to become licensed. We became, as I mentioned, we became in 1970. We did several efforts were made for the regulation of the profession, but those efforts were not successful because there were no enough support or proper follow-up to them. Then in the 80s and 90s, a second effort was worked out, but it didn't become a bill. In 2002, and as part of the strategic plan of the association, work was carried out with the aim to allowing the regulation of the public relations profession in Puerto Rico. That was done through a series of educational events for members and practitioners, because we found that there was a really not a clear knowledge of what we were trying to get. So we began some educational events, some forums, some seminars about this, as well as lobbying with the legislature for the intention of regulating the practice of public relations in Puerto Rico. Then between 2005 and 2008, education and lobbying was continued. And finally, the Office of Legislative Services, in a report, they disclosed that there was no impediment to the regulation of the public relations profession in Puerto Rico. So we are in basically 2008, 38 years later. Then on June 11, 2008, the Senate approved the Project 2415 to ensure public relations, to elevate the public relations to the level of a regulated profession in Puerto Rico. On June 24 that same year, the House of Representatives approved the Project 2450 and was headed towards the governor's signature. And we then finally got the project signed by the governor on August 8, 2008, and it becomes a law. The law is known as Law 204 of August 8, 2008, and was created, and then it was created the regulating, and it was created the regulated for the public relations practitioners in Puerto Rico, along with the license to practice public relations on the island. So we got two things. We got the regulatory board and the license to practice our profession on the island. Then our license ensures that at each renewal, the practitioner has met the continuing education credits requirement. So it has been exposed to information on best practices of the field, maintains a solid professional reputation, and complies with the rules of ethics of the practice of the profession. And hearing Sibonelo, it was very similar to what is happening in Zambia. We have to accumulate through 4 years since from the date our license is approved. 4 years from that date, we have to accumulate credits on continuing education, and we have to accumulate 30 credits. Our association and other educational institutions in Puerto Rico offers seminars and workshops and a continuing education programs that are accredited by the regulatory board, and it's quite easy to have all those 30 credits. Puerto Rico has right now more than 1,500 licensed professionals within the practice of public relations that are in compliance with Law 2004. That law establishes the requirements for academic preparation and professional expertise that are governed by the stricter ethics principles. For example, who can become licensed? A person with a bachelor or master degree in public relations, or a person with a bachelor degree in communications with a minor in public relations, and that has completed 2 years or more within the practice of public relations. Also, any practitioner that is APR, that is accredited in public relations, can become licensed. All the process is online. It's quite easy. And it has a cost of $100 for new practitioners and $125 for renewals. To renew the license, as I mentioned, all practitioners must complete a minimum of 30 credits hours in continuing education, and those courses should be approved by the Public Relations Regulatory Board during a 4-year period for the license. The renewal process is also online. Unfortunately, not all practitioners in Puerto Rico are licensed, being that that is hard work for the regulatory board and also for the association. Our association is constantly educating and advocating for the members to have their license and those who are not to become licensed. Continuing education, we understand that is the very important thing of the license, because it's the only way to achieve that all practitioners are compliant with the law. Also, that all practitioners are up to date with all the practices, with all the information, and with all that is happening in the public relations field that is changing very quickly. Our association, as I mentioned, spent 38 years in the making it happen, the regulatory, the license thing, and we just our association just celebrated 54 years in Puerto Rico, so we are important, and we are a solid institution for the public relations practitioners in Puerto Rico. Any questions or comments?
Thank you so much, Carlos, for sharing the insights on how you run down the process from as far as the 80s up to now. I think Zambian ZIPRC really has a lot to learn from an association like yours, which has I want to believe a wealth of knowledge that it brings to the fore. But then, having looked at both scenarios, I would also want to get it from what lessons can other countries learn from your processes of legislating PR and communication practices? Carlos, you'd go first, maybe under a minute, then Sibonelo would also come in under a minute.
Okay. What lessons? Well, the lessons, it's we have as I mentioned before, education for the members, for the practitioners, education to the government officials, making very clear why it's important to be regulated and why it's important that we have to have a license. Public relations is not an easy field. Public relations is a very important field that deals with very important communication aspects in the for the organizations, for the different organization, being public organization, being private, or being non-government organization. And it's very important that the people that have the it's very important that the people that have the way of communicating and the way of getting the word through the different channels are properly prepared. Not only that, but it's important to have an ethical preparation, and ethical background, and ethical principles that should be followed, and that is very important. And that is why we became licensed, because of the ethical implications of our work.
Thank you so much, Carlos, and to our attendees. Thank you also to Matthias for the message. Please, to our attendees, feel free to use the Q&A chat to type in your question in case you've got any pressing questions which you'd want our panel to respond to. Sibonelo, the same question would come to you. What lessons can other countries learn from the processes that ZIPRC has had to go through until finally securing its legislation? Kindly admit yourself.
As you heard from myself and my colleague regarding how long a journey we traveled to ensure that we were legislated The process of being legislated is not a very easy one. It requires a lot of effort, and you have to be you have to persevere on this journey. It will not be a walk in the park, but it's very possible, and that is why you have ZIPRC and the Public Relations Association of Puerto Rico as examples that it can be done. They traveled many years to get legislated. We traveled a shorter journey, but it sure wasn't a very short one. So those are some of the lessons we hope that you will pick today. The journey may even be shorter in your context, but if it seems to be tiring, do not give up. Persevere, and it is doable. It will be done. Also, ensure to collaborate extensively on your journey to being legislated. Ensure to create and maintain your relationships with your strategic stakeholders that are very important to you getting legislated. Further, amongst your members of your associations, ensure to identify some of your members who are found in strategic institutions that are pivotal to your being legislated, and ensure to leverage that resource in making sure that your members are creating opportunities for you to have conversations and to engage with the decision makers. So those are some of the lessons that I hope that you can learn from ZIPRC as well as from Puerto Rico.
Thank you so much, Sibonelo. And also, maybe to those that are joining us, our attendees, maybe some of them could be wondering to say, how does this promote inclusion with regards to professionalizing PR and communications, given the diversity of individuals that find themselves practicing PR? Carlos, or maybe Sibonelo, would you want to go first? How does this promote inclusion?
In Zambia, for example, as you have alluded to, we have a wide array of practitioners who are practicing in various sectors and who are practicing in different types of organizations. You have people like myself who are in the public sector. You have some who are in the private sector. You have some who are working in agencies. And when we are legislated, we create a platform, a common ground on which we can practice PR as much as we are representing different sectors and different organizations. And when we talk about inclusion, I will give you an example. In my presentation, I talked about having great support from our government at the moment, which we didn't have before. Our public relations practitioners, prior to the ZIPRC Act being passed, they were more or less excluded from much of what we were doing as a professional body, because most of them were not supported by the government to participate in our activities. And most of the time, the reason they were given for why they cannot participate in our activities was, we do not have the funds, we do not have the funds. But when we were legislated, the government recognized the important role of communication in development and in service delivery. And for the first time, now more than ever before, our communication practitioners in the public sector, in the government line ministries, they are more included in the practice of public relations, in our activities as an institute. They are more included and more active now more than before, because the government has recognized the important role that communication has in development. And how did the government get to a point where they are able to recognize the important role of communication? It is when we as a professional body began to assert ourselves. It is when we arose and said to the government, we want to be regulated. So they were able to recognize how serious we are and how important the role of communication is. So we're not leaving anyone behind in Zambia. By being legislated, everybody has been included, every practitioner has been catered for, and we're not leaving anyone behind.
Thank you so much for your elaborate response. Carlos, would you also want to touch on this? How does this promote inclusion?
Thank you. Yes, it promotes inclusion because, for example, in our at our association, we have not only the regular members that have license, but we have the student members that will become PR practitioners in the future. We have the associate members who are in their journey to get their license. And we also have different other type of members, which are the senior members, which are retired members who have their license, but they want to remain a little active with us. And we have also corporate members from private organizations. So as Sibonelo was talking, we embrace every person here. And the regulatory board, yes, we also accept those the members that will become regular members, and the one who are in their journey to get the license, also they are recognized and taken care of, because all members should be pampered and taken care of at this moment. And we are constantly, as I mentioned, educating about the license and reminding the practitioners who are not licensed to become licensed, and the benefits of that, the credibility. And for example, there in the human resources part, there are organizations that now, when they are looking for a practitioner, they are looking for their license, and they value that the person has the license to become a part of the organization, being the organization of private, public, or non-government association. So that is important, and the people are very fun and very interested, and then every day we get requests for information for the license, etc. So it has been it has been great. We have 1,500 people licensed right now, but we are but we know that they're out much more practitioners that can become licensed, and we are continue educating them so as to have their license and be in compliance with.
Thank you so much, Carlos. Now that you partly touched on the number of people that are registered in Puerto Rico, there's a question coming from Peter Mutia, who is one of our attendees, and it goes on both ends, both Carlos and Sibonelo. He wants to know how the compliance level of to the law is in both Zambia and Puerto Rico. So maybe Carlos, just in a sentence, how do you rate or describe the compliance in your country?
Compliance of the law is well, every practitioner should be licensed, and we have, as I mentioned, 1,500 persons licensed. There are a lot of people that are not licensed. They are right now not compliant with the law, but we are making all the efforts to the people to become a license. Actually, there is no case or not any case against anyone that is not licensed, but they should become licensed.
Okay, thank you so much. Sibonelo, how is the compliance level to the law in Zambia following the enactment of the ZIPRC Act?
In Zambia, regarding compliance, it's a journey that we are still traveling. You will recall that I mentioned that the ZIPRC Act came into effect in August 2022. So that's shy of 2 years. So in this 1 year and some months since the coming into effect of the ZIPRC Act, we have seen an improvement in terms of the the registration, because like I mentioned, we register and then we license practitioners. So in recent times, we have seen an increase in the number. At the time when the act was passed, we had slightly over 300 practitioners that complied and did their formal registration and paid their license fees. Then between last year and this year, we've had an increase of slightly over 100 more members that have paid for their license fees. And this is a journey that we're still traveling. In our training programs, as well as in our meetings like the annual general meeting, these are ongoing conversations that we're having with our members, because what it is that the ZIPRC Act actually provides for us to be able to prosecute members and organizations that hire practitioners who are not licensed. So anybody who's not licensed, we have the right to prosecute, and they can be fined, imprisoned, or suffer both consequences if found guilty of deliberately abrogating the law. But we do not want to take the first step in punishing our members, because we do not intend for this law to be punitive on our members. And we are looking to build the profession. So the first action that we are taking as an institute is not to directly go on and prosecute members who are not licensed, including organizations who have hired professionals who are not licensed. So what we're doing is we are still carrying out sensitization. We've been going on radio stations, on television programs, through our social media platforms. We are advocating for PR practitioners to do the correct thing by registering and obtaining their practicing licenses before we take the step of finally beginning to prosecute, because the law does give us that right. But that is not the first step we're taking. The first step is engagement with our members so that they do comply.
Thank you so much. Maybe for the benefit of the attendees out there, what risks and opportunities exist in the PR and communication industry for countries that are not supported by legislation? Sibonelo, under a minute.
One of the greatest risks that countries or professional bodies that are not legislated by law stand to suffer is that the opportunities which are supposed to be leveraged by practitioners are being, enjoyed by the ineligible. In Zambia, for example, like I stated, if one does not have a license, legally, they don't have the right to practice PR and communication in Zambia. So now what it is that in Zambia, it is now required that for anybody who's seeking to be employed, that they should have a practicing certificate. Otherwise, an organization cannot even shortlist them for an interview without producing a membership and license issued by ZIPRC. But in other countries that are not legislated, I'm sure there are many who are not PR practitioners who are enjoying your opportunities. They are being employed in your state. They are enjoying consultancy opportunities in your state as they parade as PR practitioners. Remember, communications work is 90% what we do in the background and probably just about 10% what we do in the foreground. So we should have the correct people with the correct training, with the correct skills to deliver a valuable service to clients and to employers, instead of having the ineligible enjoy your opportunities. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So let me, before I take in the remaining two questions, before we bring it to a close, let me throw the last question to Carlos. What are the strategies that may be required by regional and global bodies such as GA in fostering professionalism in the conduct of PR and communication through legislation inclusion? Carlos, under a minute.
Can you hear me? Can you hear
Yes,
me?
Carlos.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
Carlos.
Okay, good. As I mentioned, education, letting the message out about licensing and the benefits of it. But very important, the very important thing is the ethical behavior that the practitioners should maintain within their practice, because that is a very important thing for communication professionals, or for all professionals, but easily for communication professionals. And as Sibonelo mentioned, our work is very background work in all instances. And that background work and that work that is seen by the various publics and by the various organizations should be all done within an ethical behavior and an ethical response. And that is why it's very important to educate, number one, and number two, maintain the highest ethical behavior in the practice.
Thank you so much, Carlos. So I have two questions. I'll share them since there are two. I'll share them fairly to you. So the first question will go to Sibonelo. It's coming from Gladys Diaz. Her question is, what are the challenges you are facing for practitioners to be in compliance with the regulation of the profession in both countries? And then the question that will go to Carlos is, how do both organizations ensure that training provided or the contents thereof is up to date, given that constant development in PR and communication practices, and how do you both organizations support members? So maybe Sibonelo, you go first, then Carlos will get the last question, and then we can summarize.
Thank you. One of the challenges that we are facing in getting members or practitioners to comply is that some of them say or claim that, the license fees should be something that their employers should pay, instead of them having to pay for their professional licenses, instead of having to pay the professional licenses themselves. So what it is in Zambia, I do not know what it's like in other countries, but in Zambia, in some organizations, some employees have the privilege of having their professional license fees paid by their employer, and others do not. Now, recently in the public sector, excuse me, I'll just take a drink of water. Now, recently in the public sector, for instance, in Zambia, it was announced that the government will no longer pay professional license fees for practitioners, and that practitioners have to take that responsibility up because they are the beneficiaries of such licenses. So we've had different sorts of complaints from our members to say that, oh, now that, our employer is no longer paying the license fee, it has to be taken out of our pay. Some of them claim that their pay is not matched, which really, if you have to take an objective look at it, is not justifiable, because we have made provision basically for members to actually stagger their payments, to begin making their payments. For example, this is 2024. We have made provision for them to begin making payments for next year's certificate as early as January. So in 12 months, surely somebody who is serious about their professional life will ensure to pay their license fee. So really, some of the complaints have been around having to pay the license fee out of their own pay instead of having the employer pay it. So those are some of the issues that we've had. Then in terms of compliance towards our continuous professional development program, again, it's an issue of can we get the employer to send the employees for such training, or should the employees pay for such professional programs themselves? But really, for a professional that is really serious about their professional development, like I mentioned, we are offering training programs throughout the year from January to December. To accumulate the required points, you simply have to attend a minimum of 2 programs. And these are we have made them very affordable because we want to ensure that everybody is able to renew their license. So sometimes, members will want to advance certain complaints here and there, but if you are an institute that really wants to assert yourselves and have a voice in your country, in your region, you have to maintain a certain level of professionalism. So basically, I think this is what I can say. And that is our position as ZIPRC, that despite having many complaints or challenges in terms of compliance, we are not going to, we're not going to drop the standard. We are going to maintain the high standard and call those that are still lagging behind to rise to the occasion.
Thank you so much. Carlos, your take on that one, then we can quickly wrap up. We are constrained on time.
Thank you. The question is about the training provided and the contents thereof to be up to date in the constant development. Well, we offer training programs that are different conferences, different workshops, that all those programs have credits, continuing education credits, because they are submitted to be accredited by the regulatory board. Then that way we ensure that we are providing the number one, the up-to-date information and the up-to-date trends in the public relations and communications field. And we not only the association, but there are 2 other educational institutions in Puerto Rico that are allowed to offer continuing education credits for the practitioners. So we have, as I mentioned before, we have to have 30 credits of continuing education every 4 years. And it's quite very easy because for example, for our national conference, we offered basically 10 credits, from 9 to 10 credits yearly. So if you attend only the annual conference, then you have the credits there. But we are constantly also educating and providing those continuing educational programs for the members, so we know that they have the opportunity to be up to date. Not only that, but in our website and our different pages, we also offer it's not educational, but it's different tips and different information from around the world. We also offer the opportunity to the members to attend the different webinars that are offered by the PRSA in the United States, so they maintain they are continually informed. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for the insights from both of you that have come. I understand our attendees would have loved us to continue, but because we are constrained with time, we really need to allow you to get back to your duties. Maybe under 30 seconds, Carlos, your concluding remarks.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you for allowing us to give the world a little insight of what is happening here in this part of the world, in our little island of Puerto Rico. And let us keep the work of licensing and regulating the profession, because that's the way we can assure clients and our organization and our fellow members that we are doing the work in the professional way, and very important, with ethical standards.
Thank you so much, Carlos. Sibonelo, in a very brief 30 seconds, your concluding remarks. Kindly
Thank
unmute
you.
yourself.
Thank you for having ZIPRC speak to the world to share lessons and experiences of what is happening in Zambia before and after being legislated and the benefits that we're deriving from being legislated. And my last words to our participants in this webinar is that let us maintain the highest standard of professionalism in the conduct of our work. And let us give the best value to our countries. And this is how we are going to have a great voice as communicators, as PR practitioners. It is how we are going to assert ourselves as a very strategic partner in development within our borders and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time, and we want to thank you for the participants who also took time off their busy schedules to attend this webinar. And great thanks also goes to GA as well as ZIPRC for bringing us together. And of course, Matthias, thank you so much. Carlos, thank you so much. And Sibonelo, thank you so much for your time. And from my own behalf, thank you so much for having spared this time. We hope to engage more and meet again in the next month when we'll be celebrating DEI next year. And looking forward to many other conversations around the practice of PR organized by GA. Thank you so much. Have a pleasant day.